Local programming on KRWG Public Media made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Fronteras, a Changing America. I'm Anthony Moreno. Today we hear from people who work to connect our community with music, art, cultural events, and performances. We start off with a special profile on someone who may be a part of your weeknights on the radio here in the borderland. For over 20 years, Emily Guerra has been the award-winning host of the bilingual radio program Fiesta on KRWG FM. Every weeknight from 7 to 9, she takes us on a musical journey inspired by her upbringing in our region and her travels throughout Latin America. Emily has introduced us to local artists and connected us with our community through her weekly interviews. Our producer, Evelyn Sandoval, shares this in-depth profile on Emily Guerra, the host of Fiesta on KRWG Public Media.
Hi, I'm Emily Guerra. I was born in space. Where is that? That's Santa Rita, New Mexico, where one of our first astronauts, Harrison Schmitt, was born there and started the club Born in Space. My given name was Emilia Guerra, but they always called me Emily. I was born in New Mexico, raised in Bayard, and grew up and then raised also in Arizona. So my father had to find work in another state. He was on his way to Nevada. Car broke down in Arizona, and he was told there's copper mines here. So that's where we ended up in Superior, Arizona. So another reason I say Born in Space is because it was a big open pit copper mine now. It was a little town where the hospital was, and in the 50s they had to move the entire town because now it's a big open pit mine. So there was a copper mining industry there that my father worked for when I was born and raised there. My parents are Willie Guerra, Guillermo Eduardo Guerra, and my mother Helen Flores Guerra. My dad was born in Old Mesilla, New Mexico, and my mom in Vanadium, New Mexico. So I'm fifth generation. My dad's parents were from Old Mesilla. His father was a blacksmith, Simon Dominguez Guerra. Back in the mid-1800s, there were 12 German families who came here, and my great-great-grandfather was one of them, and his name was Daniel B. Fritzi, who married Maria Felicitas Alderete. My mother's side, her father was Epimenio Trujillo Flores, and his wife was Susie Vigil Flores, my grandmother. My great-great-grandfather was Jose Maria Flores, and one of the founders of Doña Ana, New Mexico. So we go back quite a ways here in New Mexico, a lot of generations, and I'm very proud of that. I'd like to tell you about how my family's connected to Mesilla. My grandfather, as I mentioned, Simon Guerra, was a town blacksmith. He became a blacksmith because he was a farmer first, and he needed to shoe his horses, so he started shoeing his horses. That's how then people came and asked for help with their needs in blacksmithing. But he and his brother Vicente Guerra were both justice of the peace, and his brother Vicente Guerra at one time owned the Fountain Theater. He had bought the Fountain Theater and the apartments next to it. To this day it says Guerra Apartments. He added sound to the theater so that they could have sound. So then it went back to the Fountain family. But that's part of the connection with downtown Old Mesilla and the blacksmith shop. And across from the blacksmith shop is the elementary school, which is now the Mesilla Community Center. And my father, it's right across from the house that my grandmother was born in, where my father had to help with the farm work. As I said, my grandfather was a farmer. It's across the street. They had to excuse him because they saw that he had to work on the farm with the cows and the chickens and everything else before he could go to school. Next to the post office was the grocery store, which was the D.C. Fritzy grocery store, Daniel Carrion Fritzy, my grandmother's brother. But his father, who was German, had been a merchant as well. And so there's a lot of history in Old Mesilla with my family and the community. We always used to come back to New Mexico every year, at least 2 times a year. My father would come to Old Mesilla, and I loved coming to visit with my grandparents, both in Bayard and in Mesilla. And I would learn stories about them and learn how to cook, different things than what my mother would cook. And so just before my last year of high school, my dad said, well, you like it so much, you want to go there? You're going to go there. Well, I thought it was mainly for that. But that year, my grandfather, Simon, had a stroke. So that's why they wanted me to come and help my grandmother with him. I went to Las Cruces High School. I hadn't even turned 18. And I went to San Francisco, from the little towns to a big city, not knowing anything. There was a movie industry coming into town. This is where my career starts. And I lived in California for 20 years. I worked for the movie producer for Occidental Petroleum Corporation, a petroleum company, the Century City Chamber of Commerce for about 4 years. And that was one of my favorite jobs. That's where I learned how to network, how to work with the public, how to, and I think I've used that a lot now. Before I came back to New Mexico, before I decided to go back to school, I asked God, well, what's my gift to the world? He said, your voice. And that's when, because I had been doing commercials for the airlines. And so that's when I came back to New Mexico State University and was able to use my voice. I graduated in 2001, a Crimson Scholar. But just before graduating in 2000, they asked me if I would like to co-host with Victor Ponce, my predecessor, on Fiesta. Hi, I'm Emily Guerra, your host on Fiesta. And during my travels, all the years that I traveled with Mexican Airlines, nearly 15 years, I would pick up a CD, never knowing I was going to be on the radio. I went to Peru, I went to Argentina, I went to Brazil, and those were awesome trips. And I'd pick up music there because I enjoyed music. My grandfather played the piano and I learned to love music. My mother loved music. I just loved the fact that my father, at that time I didn't like it. He was very strict. You're going to speak all Spanish or all English. None of this half and half. No Spanglish here. And so I said, okay, so I'm just going to speak English. But luckily, when I went to California and I took some classes at UCLA, and then I came back here years later when I got my degree in journalism, I also got a degree in Spanish, in languages. Hola, podemos viajar al mundo con la música. Acompáñenme en la fiesta con una mezcla ecléctica. That's how I'm able to share the language with my listeners, and little do they know, I'm teaching them a little bit of Spanish as we go along because I truly try to translate what I say. During all this time, while I was on the radio, I was asked to be a mistress of ceremonies. So I've emceed in the town of Mesilla for about 11 years. I was the mistress of ceremonies for the Cinco de Mayo fiestas and the 16 de Septiembre fiestas, and around town for other events. And lately, the most rewarding has been with the Las Cruces Mariachi International Conference, where I got to be mistress of ceremonies, emceeing the Mariachi Sundays in the month of October. So during my time with KRWG, I've received a lot of recognition. There's been an article about me, a couple of articles. In fact, when I was at Crux, when I started that bilingual show there, and then it was called Oye Como Va, and then going on now in 2019, from El Paso, Los Premios de la Gente, their 6th annual, I was presented an award for Best Bilingual Show as well. And then this year, I was presented from the New Mexico Broadcasters Association for Best DJ Personality for a large market area, and KRWG also won an award for Best Radio Show. So I've been at New Mexico State University for 23 years. I'm still here. I graduated in 2000. I came in 1998 to school at the age of 50, and now 23 years later, I'm still here at New Mexico State University, but as an employee for KRWG, and for 23 years sharing the music, sharing all that I learned throughout my life, my travels here, and sharing with you what I love best is the music. I'm still working at the radio station. I love working. I don't know, people ask me, so when are you going to retire? I'm getting, I'm 74 years old. It's 2022 and I'm 74 years old. I still have a good voice. I feel I have a good voice. My mind is still there. Little aches and pains, a little arthritis, but I can still do my job. And I love sharing with the community what I enjoy is the music. So I'm very proud to belong to this organization. I'm very proud to belong to this community, to being a New Mexican, and thanks to my family.
In the city of Las Cruces, residents and visitors have the opportunity to view local and regional artists through exhibits at the Las Cruces Museum of Art. We explore the work they do on this Living Here segment produced by Joe Widmer.
The Las Cruces Museum of Art is a city-run museum, and we offer between 4 and 5 exhibits over the course of a year, and those tend to be either done in-house or through traveling exhibits or through collaborations with other institutions in the community. Our audience is really diverse, and so one of the really nice things about the variety of exhibits that we offer is that it offers a little bit to everybody in the community. So, of course, a local artist is going to bring in people who are really interested in that particular artist, but the Allure of the Near East exhibit that we had a couple months ago brought in a lot of people because it was an opportunity to see artwork and ceramics and other materials that you just don't often get to see in this area of New Mexico. So we're really blessed to have wide-ranging audience, both tourists and locals, that come in and enjoy all of the exhibits that we present. The high school art exhibit is it's really nice to be able to have it again, because we had to cancel it in 20 and 21 because of the COVID closures. So this is the first time in 2022 that we've been able to offer it in 2 years. And we're really excited to be able to offer a venue for the graduating seniors of local high schools to present their artwork. And we've got about 53 high school students that are participating this year that represent 5 different high schools. And the diversity of artwork is just really amazing. We've got ceramics, we've got paintings, we've got sketches done in both pencil and color pencil. We've got some fabric art in there. There's a wide range of mediums that the art students are presenting, and so it really gives the opportunity to see the skill level of all different varieties that these high school students have to offer, and it's really amazing artwork.
We offer programs in everything from drawing to painting to ceramics, and we're hoping to expand into some more printmaking, some bookmaking, and some jewelry making. We are very active on our Facebook page to find more information about our programs, and we keep our website updated as far as we can.
We are open Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and then on Saturdays we open at 9 o'clock and are open until 4:30 in the afternoon. The Museum of Art is 491 North Main. There is no admission fee charged, so please come on down and visit us.
We now continue our program with a discussion on the work of the Doña Ana Arts Council. Since the early 1970s, the organization has worked to grow arts and culture in our community through many different events. Joining us to share more is Doña Ana Arts Council Executive Director Greg Smith. Greg, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about this important facet of our community.
Yeah, let's start off with talking about the mission of your organization.
Well, it is basically to present, to encourage and promote the arts as part of our cultural heritage as well as our economic capabilities in the region.
Now, you do this through many different events. Can you share with us a little bit about the events that are so popular and have had success with connecting our community with the arts?
Well, we just wrapped up the Renaissance Arts Fair, which started the same year, actually, that the Arts Council did in 1971. It was started by the Holy Cross Monastery Retreat Center, and they then turned it over to the Arts Council about 10 years later. So the Arts Council's been doing the Renaissance Arts Fair for about 40 years, but the event itself started the same year that the Arts Council did in 1971. And other events we started more recently, the Arts Fair at the Convention Center, and that has been a great addition as well. Then we do the Community Arts Awards each year. Those also are well attended, help highlight people who are making a difference in the arts or groups who are making a difference in the arts here. And then we do several summer programs and art programs with young people. The summer programs that people perhaps are familiar with are the Missoula Children's Theater, the Career Art Paths program that was started by Jordan and Marion Woolley, and then what was once called the Opera Storytellers Camp, and we're now calling the Musical Storytellers Camp. We find that a lot of people have a sort of an expectation of opera being something that they're not connected to, and the reality is, one, we have a fantastic opera operation in Santa Fe, and two, if we call it musical, it's still the same. It's about the same things, but it helps people connect to it better. And then something that Karen Connolly started with us 2 years ago is the Kennedy Center's Partners in Education Arts Integration Program with elementary school children in the Las Cruces Public Schools. It's been extremely successful. Some of the young people have gotten to go to Spaceport America, meet Sir Richard Branson of Virgin Galactic, but tying in basically the STEAM, the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, so that those connections are understood and how powerful, and connected they are for us. So with the engineering that we have at NMSU and that we have with Spaceport America and with White Sands Missile Range and with NASA, we also have important connections to the arts, which has a long history in Las Cruces. So that's a highlight of some of the things. Obviously, we still have classes and performances. We've got a piano or flute and piano recital coming up December 4th that we're really excited about. An Italian flutist is coming along with a pianist from El Paso. But those kinds of things happen throughout the year. We have shows in the gallery. And then we have our first Friday Arts Ramble and our second Saturday Artist Reception. It goes on, and I don't mean to drag you through all of it, but we really are very proud of the fact that we have these opportunities here.
No, and there are plenty of opportunities. Now, you mentioned some programs for young people in our area. How do programs like that build the next generation of patrons of the arts?
Well, thank you for asking that, Anthony. The reality is that we have a lot of people who've retired here or built their careers here who already appreciate the arts and recognize how it contributes to their quality of life and that sort of thing. But we also have an obligation to help build that in for our young people. Some of them are going to be artists themselves. And a lot of times people think, well, that's all that's about is helping young people who want to be artists. But the reality is we have a lot of people who are adults who the arts are not their primary source of income or their livelihood, but it's still an important part of their lives as a hobby. And then we have people who just don't seem to realize perhaps that the arts are integral to just about everything they do in their lives. Somebody designed the way something looks, even though it's very functional, that it actually has an appealing appearance or an appealing way that it fits in with the other things that you're doing. So it's not simply that everybody needs to be an artist, but that people can appreciate the arts, make them part of their environment, make them part of their experience, or make them a livelihood piece. So that's a huge part of what we're doing with our young people. We also recognize that as we go forward and the job market changes, that a lot of people who are currently doing jobs may find themselves not able to do that particular job in the future. It may be done by a robot, it may be done digitally, it may become obsolete. And human-made art continues to be one of those things that still has a market, it still has an outlet in our community.
Now, we just have a little over a minute and a half with you, but I'd like to hear from you. Besides funding, what are some of the biggest challenges facing an organization like yours?
Well, you certainly mentioned funding, which is critical, but there are also the opportunities for people to be volunteers. At the recent Renaissance Arts Fair, we basically went ahead and rented tents because in the past we had volunteers helping put up tents that we owned. We found last year that was just a really challenging because we didn't have enough volunteers to do that. So we put them up and took them down, but we were exhausted. It's still an exhausting event, but even helping around the office, helping get the word out, volunteers, people who communicate with their neighbors about the arts and who connect with us, those are important human assets that really help us do what we do.
Now, we just have about 30 seconds left with you, but what are some of your goals for the upcoming year?
We basically want to increase that funding base and the volunteer base so that we can do more of not only the programs with young people, which is really probably a very central focus for us, but also more programs where we're helping educate and connect people who are not as young anymore, very much young at heart, I'm sure, but people who then are adults and seeing how they connect the arts in their lives.
Greg Smith is Executive Director of the Doña Ana Arts Council. Greg, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you, Anthony. It's been a pleasure.
Moving on, a local theater company brings performances of contemporary or little-known works to the Las Cruces community. On this segment of Community Connection, our producer, Christian Valle, visits the No Strings Theater Company.
We aim to do plays which aren't ordinarily done by other theater companies, so new plays, plays which are by famous playwrights but not often produced. We have had new play readings here at the theater, so we really try to be kind of innovative and different than other theater companies in town. We do 7 plays in a season, so those are directed by several guest directors, as well as 3 of them are directed by myself. And then in addition to that, we are open to other companies coming in and performing, but it also provides opportunities for local actors, for local directors, for local playwrights to come and work in our very nice theater. I love directing plays because it's so much fun to see words on a page come to life when the actors start to work with the play. And that's the real fun of it, because whatever you would do in terms of casting is going to drive what the play is going to do at the end. And it's just so much fun to see all of that develop, and the actors provide their own input into it. So it's kind of like a baby that's being made by several moms, and that's wonderful. Love working with Cassie because she's very smart and innovative and has a lot of experience with improv, who's very smart and has really good ideas. And as a director, I just embrace that because she came up with things that I never would have come up with. And so it makes the plays better when you have somebody like Cassie.
Didn't die and everyone was groovy. Is that what you want? Some senseless melodrama with plot holes and ridiculous...
Started working with No Strings Theater Company in 2016. There was a production of Little Shop of Horrors and they needed like chorus members for it. And I ended up getting to be one of the puppeteers for the plant. And then ever since then, I think I've been doing maybe 1 show a year with them. But it takes all of those things that I struggle with in real life, and it gives me a controlled environment to express them and overcome that fear, and it's helped me develop communication skills in life too, so that's one of the main pulls for it.
Black Box Theater, it's located at 430 North Main. We have a website, which is no-strings.org. We have a Black Box No Strings Theater family on Facebook. We also have a gigantic email list, so if people are interested in being notified about auditions or plays or productions, they can let us know to put them on the email list, and then they get periodic emails from us. And so we're very happy to be here. This is our 22nd year, and that's pretty long life for a theater that does the kind of plays that we do.
That's it for this week's episode. As we end the program, we want to say goodbye to KRWG production manager Joe Widmer, who has directed and produced this program. Joe led an award-winning production department, and his work and creativity have strengthened content at KRWG Public Media. Joe Widmer retired earlier this month. We want to thank him for all of his efforts, and we wish him the best as he moves forward. Thank you for the memories, Joe. Of course, we also want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Fronteras, a Changing America. I'm Anthony Moreno. We'll see you next time.